Hey, before I start this video, I just wanted to bring some attention to the, potential hazards of working on this fuel pump that's deep inside this fuel tank. Obviously, fuel is highly flammable, so you don't want to create any kind of sparks, smoke any cigarettes, or even use electric tools like this. You know, you can see that flash that sparks from the electric motor. So I just used my hand tools when I got down to the actual taking the lid off the tank. You just got to be smart about it. If you don't feel comfortable, this is a little bit more of an advanced job, I guess. Also, you might be tempted to, dunk your arm down in that gasoline when trying to remove the fuel pump. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I could tell you that's a bad idea. I've gotten fuel spilled on me quite a few times, being that I work in a shop, and for me anyway, it creates some red and burning skin, not pleasant. So anyway, that's why I opted for draining the tank with my transfer pump. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Those are my two hazard warnings, so let's get started with this video. Well, I need to replace the fuel pump in my 2002 Xterra, so I thought I would make a quick video on it. Before starting this job, you should relieve the fuel pressure in the lines, so you want to unhook the fuel pump relay and then try starting it, and that'll let the pressure out, and then also disconnect your battery before you get in there and start pulling the pump. Alright, so on the passenger side rear seat, you'll find an access panel for the fuel pump, so you do not have to drop the tank, which is nice. So you pull the seat up. Now there's these two clips right here that you pull these straps and it releases them. So that's how the seat pops up. Throw that out of the way. Then you flip back this piece of carpet, and now you'll see this panel, which is held on by four 10mm bolts, which I already took out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you just take them out, pull that out of the way. Now there's another panel. This one has three 10mm bolts. 1, 2, 3. And you take those out. Now you can pull this cover, and this one is actually attached. Right here is the wiring harness for the fuel pump, which I already unplugged. You got these two plugs that go on top of the tank right there. 1, 2. And basically what I did was you got to push down on this tab right here and then slide them back. So I took a screwdriver, pushed them down, and another screwdriver, and kind of easily worked them loose. So down in here, this is where it might get a little challenging. I sprayed some penetrating oil because you got all these little 8mm headed bolts going into the fuel pump itself. And they were pretty rusty, and I was afraid they were gonna snap off inside the tank, but I did get lucky and they all came loose, and I didn't strip them. I had used you gotta make sure you use a good 6-point socket. Don't use the 12s, you'll just strip everything out with those. And also you got to deal with these quick disconnects, which, if you can see, you just push in these two plastic tabs, and then it should release these quick disconnect style connectors. You might want to give them a twist. I can feel that one's free, so it's not going to be seized up, which this is a plastic spout on this fuel pump here, so it shouldn't get seized on there. I know like GM uses a metal sender unit on top of the tank, and they rust and these get stuck, and you have to just basically replace them, which isn't that big of a deal. So anyway, let me get these out and get these lines worked loose. Okay, so I got them fuel lines pulled free. Basically, I just took my needle nose pliers and gently squeezed those together. And I took another pair of pliers and gently kind of twisted and pulled back until these came free. And it was, they came off easy. Now what you want to do is gently, without breaking, remove this clip and put it in here. So you got that little the locking mechanism right there, goes into the side window right there in this clip, and it'll snap in, and then when you go put it back together, it's easy. But before you pull the unit out of there, you're going to want to clean up anything loose on top of this, because you don't want to dump a bunch of crud down in the tank once you pull this out. I just realized that these two lines are like basically the same size, so I put a white mark on that one and this so I don't get them backwards. Okay, so that was a pain, but I got this piece out, which is simply the fuel level floater. The actual pump's still in the tank. So you got these two fuel line connections you got to undo, and also an electrical connection. So what you got is, there's a connection that has the regular pincher style disconnect like what we found on top of that unit. And then here, this one was pretty aggravating because it's some kind of different, it's like the same thing, but it has like these two ears on the side of it, and I had a hard time trying to unplug it because I didn't understand how it unplugged. I was just squeezing it here with pliers and pulling downward, and finally it let go. And then you got your electrical connector. So now what I'm going to do, since I have quite a bit of fuel in here, I have just over half a tank, is I'm going to drain some of this fuel out. I have a fuel pump, a Holley fuel pump, and some hose is what I'm going to use. There's the fuel pump you can see right in the center of the screen. And you need a special tool, which I just got a steel rod coat hanger and cut it, because we need to be able to, let me see if I can get you zoomed in enough to see what I'm talking about. So we need to get it behind that fuel pump. Well, the fuel pump's inside this plastic thing, and we have to stick that rod and get it behind here underneath all this stuff and pull up, and that'll release the clip and we can pull all that junk out of there. Maybe I can get a better view of it once it's out. I need to clean off my messy workbench here, but got a small area. So that fuel pump is sitting down in that tank like this, right? And you're looking down above. And here's the clip right here. So to release it, I carried that rod in here with me, and where did I put it? Here it is. And then you just reach that down in there, behind this piece here, and pull it, and it pops free. Then you can take it out. Here's a better look at these ends. Now this one here, let me refocus this thing. This end here, which what I think is for the return, was a little bit funny. And it's got these two, you'll see when you're doing it yourself, it's got these two things on the side you can push in. And that's basically what I did. You can see that they're connected to these fingers in here. Maybe not. There's fingers. and I pushed these in, and I just kept kind of gently twisting and pulling down, and finally it released. So pair of pliers, pushing these 2 tabs down, that's how I got it. And then this one here, those are just like the ones on top. You just push these in and it releases, and then you put the clip back in here. And here's the electrical connector. You just push down right here, you'll see this. Push that down and pop it out. So I guess the fuel pump's inside this plastic thing, so I need to figure out how this comes apart. You just push these in here, and then it comes apart. Yep. So that comes off like that. You just push these in and then let go. And this fuel pump comes out. Maybe we have to take off the pickup screen first, which I'm not sure how that comes off either. Don't have another one, so I don't want to break it. There we are. Put the new pump in there. So I got that on there, pretty much fully seated. I was just kind of going around with a screwdriver and pushing here, and here, and here, and here, just going around and around until it was on there all the way. Trying to be careful because I don't have another one of these pickup tube and screens, so I don't want to break it. Alright, so now that we got that pushed on, let's get this top plastic part hooked back around. So we have a new fuel line that came with this pump, but I don't have a new return line, so that's fine, I guess. So yeah, now I just need to, I got a new wiring harness, so I need to put that onto the new pump and get that wiring harness put back on, put a fresh zip tie like it was all zip tied together, and we'll throw it back in the tank. Okay, so I got this all back together. The pump came with a new pigtail for the pump it wanted me to put on, so I did that. Used the supplied crimps, and for an extra safety precaution, I zip tied them onto the fuel line here like they were from the factory, but I made sure these crimps stayed separated because I don't want them touching and shorting out in the tank. So the only thing I think is going to fight me is for this hose. The fuel supply hose wants to go down. It needs to be going up, and it's pretty stubborn. Don't want to go up, it wants to go down. So there it is, all snapped in. That was probably the biggest nightmare of this whole job. Like, I got it clipped in there, but it was crooked somehow, and that sock wasn't touching the bottom. It was about an inch off, and it just really fought me and didn't have a good time, I'll tell you that much. But it's in there now. Just when you take it out, just kind of try to pay attention to how it's in there. It's hard to do because you can't see what you're doing because your arm's in this hole, so you're doing it all blind, and you can hear all those plastic pieces creaking, like on the verge of snapping, and but just take your time with it and try not to break anything. Okay, now that the fuel pump is snapped into place down below, we got to put this crap back in, and this would be a good time to replace your O-ring seal around the top of the tank. So now if we look at this thing, we know it was in there like this. So So that's how it sits in the tank. So it needs to get hooked in there like that and drop down, and that's going to be fun. Of course, a bunch of super fragile plastic pieces that we don't want to break. So I guess right now I'm going to get these off. I got all that stuff hooked back up. The electrical plug, high pressure return. I put a little oil on the ends on these things, but down there I'll put some oil on here too, just to help them slide in and snap. Got the fuel lines hooked back up. I got the electrical connectors hooked back up. I'm gonna leave this off so loose so I can go hook up my battery and relay and stuff back in and try to start it, make sure nothing's leaking, and then we can go ahead and put the covers back on. I crawled underneath and went ahead and put a new fuel filter on it too, for good measure. If you're curious, that's located right in front of the gas tank. There's a cross member there, and there's a little metal guard for it that it's connected to, and two screws holding it on. I'll show you where that's at. I laid down here in the ice and changed it. I still gotta put the guard back on, but it's right there. You can just see it. It's just hose clamped on, and then you connect it back to that guard, and then screw the guard back on with two 10mm bolts. Nothing's leaking. Everything seems to be working good now. So I guess I'll end this video here, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.